Like Professor Rakesh Sinha, Honorary Director, IPF, to give a token of appreciation from our side to His Excellency Dr. Riad Kamel Abbas. I would like to invite Mr. Manohar Sharmaji to give a token of appreciation to Dr. Wael Awwad. And finally, I would like to call Mr. Ansuman to give a token of appreciation to Professor Ashwini Mohapatra. And now I would like to request Professor Rakesh Sinha, Honorary Director, India Policy Foundation, to give short views, his own views on Syrian crisis, and start the session today. Thank you.
First, I apologize that we already delayed more than half an hour, so I will take much time. I welcome on behalf of India Policy Foundation all of you and our guest speakers at that occasion. What I have to say that at the present situation, US has been using its position to reaffirm the supremacy of its presidency, reaffirm the supremacy of dollar, and lastly reaffirm its military might. All these three things, and Obama's stand on Syria, it is not like that. When and why you will intervene in any nation, any sovereign nation. It is the moral and legal duty of United Nations organization. If there is no consensus, you cannot override the consensus. United States of America is not superior than United Nations organization. We, the nations of the world, our wish and our right. If we have surrendered something, that is the international organization, that is United Nations organization. If United States of America is intervening today in Syria, tomorrow it can intervene in any nation, taking any ground. But there is a serious question. The violation of human rights, which is a matter of concern, the question has been raised, and it is up to the Syria to convince the world community that whether the violation of human rights is justified. Can Syria justify the violation of human rights? So both things are before us. Lastly, I would like to say that the international community is fractured on the Syrian question. Russia is taking its own stand. There may be national interest of Russia is involved in that question. British Parliament has already rejected the Prime Minister's proposal to support the America, and I think that this is the imperialist pretensions, colonial pretensions. These nations should come out from the colonial pretensions. United States of America is still believing that it is a superpower, not in the sense of the military might, but it can do and undo anything in the world community. So this is the question. It is not the question of religion. It is a question of democracy in the world. The community of the world must live in democracy, but democracy can survive only when if the nation is also guided in internal politics, in internal structure guided by the democratic norms and regulations. So we have two honorable guests on the Syria. Our Excellency Ambassador is here, and a senior journalist here, genuine Professor Mohapatra is here. Professor Gispan was supposed to come, but he couldn't come due to some unavoidable circumstances. Here I will request Professor Rajveer Sharma, Professor at University, to preside this session, and I hand over the last time.
Thank you, Dr. Sinha. After the introductory remarks by the director, I straightforward come to our chief speaker and the guest today to kindly place his views on the Syrian crisis today before us, and then we will the participants and the august audience will be free to interact with him.
Professor Sinha, thank you for your invitation. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. And sorry for delay because of the traffic on the way. Also, because of this day, because we came late here also, I don't like to give a long speech. I will keep time for discussion is better for us, but I will give a line for each point that came on my invitation by briefing quick. Now, the war in Syria is very clear. What is going on in Syria, not for democracy, not for reform, is a big conspiracy made by America to topple our regime or change its policy in the Middle East. The aims for America to change the policy of our regime, because the main issue in the Middle East is the Arab-Israeli conflict. Israel occupied our ground in Golan High, and Israel occupied Palestine. Syria remained to fight with Israel to get back our right and ask about the demand of Palestinian people. This is the main issue in the Middle East. And what is going on in our country is American conspiracy. Sorry for that. Also in Syria, we are fighting against terrorism on behalf of freedom country. We are facing cross-border terrorism and big media propaganda. We are fighting against big army of mercenaries, get support directly from some GCC country like Saudi Arabia and Qatar. They get money from them and weapons from European country. This big army of mercenaries smack the border through Turkey into our ground to fight against our government and to kill our civilians and to destroy public and private sector in our ground.
Hello.
After 30 months ago, after the beginning of the issue in Syria, 2 years ago, we are fighting against terrorism made by America. When America didn't achieve its aims in Syria to topple the regime, America asked its follower to make these chemical weapons in our ground. America find this excuse to attack directly our country and to destabilize the regime in this area. We have evidence for that, and our government asked UN Secretary General 6 months ago to send international committee for because the rebels use chemical weapons in our ground in Aleppo. 6 months ago, we asked for chemical weapons committee to come to investigate about this issue in our ground. In their arrival, the rebels use chemical weapons against our civilian and against our army. It is not possible our government to use chemical weapons in their arrival. We ask for chemical weapons and use chemical weapons. It's not right. Our government didn't use chemical weapons and will not use chemical weapons against our people if this kind of chemical weapons available in our country. We have the evidence for that, and America accused our government for that. From here, I challenge America, I challenge Obama, show us your evidence about this issue. We have our evidence. Because of that, you have seen in G20, the great countries, BRICS country, great country like India, they go on the right way. They ask the evidence for Mr. Obama, who take it like excuse to attack our country. He don't show us his evidence, we have the evidence. This is a big lie, came from American side, is the same lie which America used against Iraq. And after 10 years, after occupation of Iraq, they said, sorry, it was a wrong story. From the beginning, we said, this is a big lie, this is a wrong story, we didn't use chemical weapons. We asked international community to investigate for chemical weapons in our ground. And why Mr. Obama is in a hurry to attack our government before the report of this committee appear on the world. For sectarian war, we have no sectarian war in Syria. All Syrian people join our government by their specification and certification. Nobody in our government asked to which religion belong to join the government. Most of Syrian people support our government, and all minority in Syria support totally our government. And sorry to speak about sectarian war here in this meeting. If there is 65 are Sunni in Syria, 8% are pro our president because they belong to Hanafi Mazhab or Shafi'i Mazhab in Syria. They don't like to see Wahhabis influence in our Islam community in Syria. Those people, they are pro our president against Wahhabis in our region. And evidence for the Damascus and Aleppo, half population of our country are Sunni. These two cities support our president since the beginning of the issue in Syria. Second, our president from one community and his wife is a Sunni. Vice president are Sunni. Prime minister is Sunni. We have 30 ministers, 25 ministers are Sunni. The defense minister is Sunni who fight against those rebels in our ground. And the home minister is Sunni, and the foreign minister is Sunni. Where is the sectarian war? Who can give me one evidence there is sectarian war in our ground? And our friend who, first speaker here, he mentioned about Al-Qaeda and Hezbollah. I would like to give a clearance about that. Al-Qaeda belong, Mrs. Obama said on TV when he was foreign secretary of America, exactly, we create Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. This is very clear statement from America. And the leader of Al-Qaeda said, we create Jabhat al-Nusra in Syria. Jabhat al-Nusra is a branch of Al-Qaeda in Syria. And the leader of opposition in Syria said, Jabhat al-Nusra is the main forces in our opposition. And Mr. Obama and Mr. Kerry said we will support the opposition by military issue in Syria. This means is very clear America is in the side of Al-Qaeda against our government. America support Al-Qaeda in Syria, and America fight with Al-Qaeda in other ground, maybe. But I shock about that because America directly checked its hand with Al-Qaeda in Doha a few months ago, with Taliban in Doha. This means what I would like to explain to you. America create Al-Qaeda. America use Al-Qaeda for its bad war everywhere in the world. There's a difference between Al-Qaeda and Hezbollah. Al-Qaeda make trouble for all over the world except Israel. Hezbollah didn't make any problem for any country in the world except Israel. This is the difference. Hezbollah is an organization who asks to get back their right, their ground in Lebanon city. Hezbollah create to define for its dignity, for its right in Lebanon area. This is the difference between Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda is terrorist group. Hezbollah is political party and resistance organization. The impact, now America aims to attack our country. If America will attack Syria, all the region will enter into chaos, especially in the Middle East, because Syria is different than other Arab countries. Syria have strong army and the majority of our people support our government. Since they will attack Syria, third world war will start in the Middle East. Syria will not stay quiet, will not listen to America. We are not follower of American policy in the Middle East. When they will attack Syria, if Syrian people not fight on peace, nobody will fight for peace in the Middle East. If the battle imposed on us, we will fight till the end. We have to protect our people, we have to define for our sovereignty. We will not surrender our country because we have got experience about the colonialist state, what they did in our country in the past. For the oil price, Syrian issue is political issue and economical issue. They discover in Syria the biggest store of gas and oil in our ground, understand? And their aims to tell the regime in Syria to the pipeline of gas from Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Turkish to Europe, and they will make like surround around Russia and to make competitive with Russian gas for Europe. Political issue, Russia don't like to see the influence radical of Islam in the region. Because of that also, Russia stand behind Syria. Third things, Russia stand behind Syria because she like, with Brexit, to protect the Charter of United Nations for its member in United Nations. And we have seen when they start talking in the media for attacking Syria, we have seen the price going up, jumping up, and since they will attack Syria, the price will become double or more. Syria in the past was the country who makes the stability in the region. As I said, if they will attack Syria, there is no stability in the region, and we have seen what happened in neighboring country, in Lebanon, in Jordan, in Turkey. And one thing I would like to give light for you, there is no Arab Spring, which called Arab Spring is not Arab Spring, is American plan. And secret, this sensitive information, there were a secret agreement between America and Muslim Brotherhood Party, signed in 2009 in Istanbul. America will support Muslim Brotherhood Party to come to the power in Arab country, and Muslim Brotherhood have to save the American interest in the region and sign peace agreement with Israel, and Muslim Brotherhood Party has to establish the regime in Syria and sign peace agreement with Israel with any legal demand for Palestinian people or Syrian people. And that's what we have seen in Middle East and Arab countries. They changed secular regime by radical regime. Second, they changed old agent of America by new agent of America. But they couldn't do it in Syria because our president came to the power by the majority support of our people. Our president appointed by America in the power. Because of that, they failed to do it in Syria. United Nations has to take its strong rule on the way. We don't need United Nations to be a follower of American policy. We see United Nations following American policy anywhere. We ask United Nations to take this duty, or why it exists in America. Russian stand and Chinese stand is behind Syria, like Brexit, because they would like to support the sovereignty of independent countries, because they would like to support the Charter of the United Nations. The impact on India, we have seen the price of oil going up since the beginning of the issue in Syria. And Indian stand, we have seen the stand of India in G2 yesterday, what Prime Minister Mr. Manmohan Singh said. We highly appreciate Indian stand. We thanks through this meeting Prime Minister of India for his stand. That's what we accept, what we expect from India, who ask for the peace for all over the world. We don't forget the principle of India peace, who came by G. Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, Miss Indira Gandhi. We would like India to remain in the same. We thanks India, we thanks Indian people who support our country for the right. Thank you very much. This small briefing, and I will keep time for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, His Excellency, for putting the entire issue in a perspective. Now, before crisis, Dr. Wael.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation, and I thank the Indian Policy Foundation for inviting me. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's nice to have somebody from the GNU who can cut short your talk to a large extent that you don't have to explain to everyone. And with Excellency, he said the Syrian part, but being a journalist, you always try to bring all the puzzle together. So I will try to put all together what they have been saying in a more comprehensive manner, that we know what is really the actual picture on the ground. Because I was on the television 2 days ago with the French ambassador on a program with Current Upper, and I couldn't speak my heart out because, you know, Current Upper programs are always very short. He doesn't let you speak much. But I just managed to tell the French ambassador, reminded him of when he was saying that they have the information, they have the details, and they have the intelligence input, and they know that this is done by the Syrian regime, and they have to go for the war. So I just asked him, who give you the moral authority to be the moral police of the world when there is a UN to follow? Let us all be more mature and talk on this. Of course, I didn't tell him the second part, but that's what I'm sharing with you. It won't look nice for a diplomat to. But then I reminded him also of the Syrian issue, which we had when we had the First World War, when the French and the UK approached the Arab world. They said, if you wanted to go out of the Ottoman Empire, you join us, so the occupation of the Ottomans will be finishing, and you will be liberated and giving your independence. So foolishly, we took the word of the West, and we joined them in the struggle. And then when the war was over, we have been divided in Sykes-Picot into 19 nations, and then that was the award they have given us by creating also an Arab League, which supported by the British, by the way, and that is why I'm giving you all these puzzles, so you can put it all together to know what future is facing us, where is the end game in the Arab world, why it happened now, and I am trying to give you, this is my presentation of the paper. So my main concern on this is to quote for you some of the American writers, like Carl Dringer, when he had with the Tea Party founder in the United States, and he said very clearly that the onset of the Arab Spring was, along with the American national debt and the American economic collapse. So he said it very clearly that the collapsing business culture fed and big frauds, and then we had the government of America lust for power. So how to end the civil war in your own country without creating another war somewhere else? So I think the American found it very easy, very good to go into the Arab world and find it on the name of the Arab Spring. So if you look at the map of the Arab world, you will see how they divided us, look like a ruler. Now we will have another Sykes-Picot with the American test. So the American will go for further division of the Arab world, and that's how we started. Why I'm saying so? Because the alternative, you know, there is a genuine demand in the Arab world for democracy, for freedom of speech. None of the Arab states have been really elected by their own, with respect to Syria. I mean, this is, I'm a Syrian, I know, they all came on the tank. They came, they brought them, the Europeans were worried that the Second World War, maybe it will go toward the socialist countries, so they were in a hurry to give us the independence, and all these regimes were really supported. Now, there are good facts and fictions. Now, let me say it this way. I don't want to say in Syria. Let me give you Syria, for example, my country. I owe my country the debt because I was forced to go to school. I was forced by the government. It was a free and compulsory. If I have if any family in Syria, parent having a child less than 14 years of age did not go to school, the parent will be jailed. So if it was a free education, compulsory, and then free health checkup, subsidized food. Of course, these are the good. The bad things, what Professor Mahabatra have mentioned to it, that yes, we don't have that freedom, we don't have that openness. We don't, because you see, we are also in a very turbulent region. We know what is the game plan, what our enemies are planning for us. That is also another issue. So every time they used to tell us, Israel is coming to us, Israel is going to attack us, is taking Palestine, is going to take Syria. So we were always leaving on the impression of the nationalist feeling that we are going to liberate it one day, and we will forget about the rest of it. Now focus on one of the main enemy which we will have, and there we forgot on our way how to build up the political and the democratic institution in the Arab world, and we left it for whom? For the Muslim Brotherhood, who played the government in the shadow, because it was the only inside the mosque where you could gather, you could not have the democracy, where people could be recruited, where the enemies of Islam have taken advantage of the majority of the poor people in Egypt or in Syria or in the Arab world, who are not having an employment, who were punished by the regime, who were weak, who were sent even to work in the Gulf state and come back to stay in their country, but completely changed with their doctrine, with their own religion, fanatics, fundamental things. You can see it from your neighborhood till our own country. We felt it, we all felt it in the same manner. So there was a change, social change in the country, and the religious changes. So the people of the country start having a kind of inter-confrontation. So the American found it very easy to start something called political Islam. Political Islam means what? Means to promote the inter-fighting between the Muslim people. Excellency spoke of the Wahhabis, we spoke of the Hanafi and Shafi'i. It is that the moderate Islam, we have the Umayyad in Syria, and that's the Umayyad dynasty that have spread Islam all over the world, because it has the values, it has the true religion, and everybody accepts it. Then we got the Wahhabism. Wahhabism reject all the other sector of Islam. So for you, for us, for them, we are not Muslim. So forget about the Christian, forget about the other Alawites, forget about any other things. Even Sunni, we are not Muslim for them. We have to follow their sect of Islam. So if that is the game, that means if you do not follow me, I will kill you. If you don't, we have to fight. So therefore, creating the anarchy in the region, give me a reason to come back to reoccupy the region. So now this is the game plan in the Arab world, and you can see why it has been being taken into that picture for us. All of us, we had been in the Arab world. We faced it. We faced it from Libya. Anybody talk about Libya? How many people getting killed daily? Who is the Prime Minister of Libya? Who is the President of Libya? Anybody knows? I am sure nobody knows, because the story is over. Libya is over. Tunisia is over. Daily in Tunisia there is curfews. Nobody knows. Daily in Tunisia there are closing of shops and forcing people to go onto the burqas and dressing up. Nobody knows about it. Daily, then the second phase of political assassination started. It's also there, and one of the prominent socialist leaders, they were killed in Tunisia. Nobody talking about, because the story now is Syria. Egypt, they gave them the chance, 365 days of misdeeds. They landed up in a mess. They give to the army is back now. Now it is an internal confrontation. Ben Gurion said it long time ago. It is the three countries which Israel will face challenges in the future. It was Iraq, it was Syria, and Egypt. So if you look at the history, the pattern of events in the Arab world, you will understand why the United States has to lie and go for a weapon of mass deception, saying in Iraq, and then they occupied Iraq, and then later they apologized and said we are there because of the oil. So Iraq destroyed from within. Yesterday, day before yesterday, the UN gave, in one day, 800 people died in Iraq because of the killing of the civilian. Why? After 10 years, this is the democracy you are trying to give to the Iraqis? That is what you change the regime and you call him a dictator or an authoritarian regime, totalitarianism, and you said, now you're bringing another instead, and you decided to create all this anarchy and sectarian violence and divided Iraq literally into 3 states. So this is what we are seeing, what happened in Libya, what happened in Iraq. It's an example where the Syrian people felt, no, we are happy with whatever we have. We are rallying behind our president because the amount of killing, the amount of atrocities happening in the street of Syria. You may sound it started as a political, social unrest. Yes, everybody in Syria was supporting the movement in the beginning because they wanted reforms. They wanted the president who had come to power at a very critical time, but they told him we need the reforms of the country. You came under the platform of reform, democracy, and modernization of the society. So modernization, yes, you were on. Democracy is not there. Because the president has already told them, when they started doing the NGOs and the government and all, the people there in Syria, they start having this, they start having the NGOs, and it was only aimed for the NGOs that time, that we should destroy the government, and accusing the government of the problem in Syria that the government has to go. So the president restricted this activity. I was there covering for MBC. I was working for the Middle East Broadcasting Center when President Assad, the father, died. How they brought him from London and he promoted the son. In similar fashion, how late Mr. Rajiv Gandhi was brought because the son died and then he was promoted in a similar fashion. So he had no clue of the very clean history of him. There is no blood stain in his hand. He has not even a single account, foreign account outside. Oh God's sake. Because he had the best honeymoon relation with Turkey and Qatar. These are the two which I used to go and criticize even the government of Syria. Why are you pushing yourself so hard in the hand of these two? For 10 years, the Prime Minister of Turkey can fly over Syria with the Emir of Qatar, come down to the President, anytime have a coffee with him and chat. Then they came to him and they said, look, you have to have a reform, you have a change now, social unrest started, you should have 1/3 of the seats should be given to the Muslim Brotherhood. So the President said, look, we have a constitution, we have a secular constitution, we do not give to Islamic party. They can welcome to join any other party or as an individual, but not as a religious party. And here was the deadlock. Her Excellency spoke about the Muslim Brotherhood. That was the whole aim, is to bring back the Muslim Brotherhood in Syria, the sectarian line. Homs was the main target at the beginning. Daraa was the starting point. Homs was the main point. Now in Homs we had 500,000 Christians. Now there is only 50 people out of 500,000. If that is really the aim, is to make Syria and tomorrow a sectarian violence. They are planning it in a very meticulously planned manner. This is the same person who has served for 20 years in United States, Bandar bin Sultan. He came to Syria. He told Mr. Putin that I am now in charge, I needed to do the changes. Qatar Amir was left out and then he was put into the picture. So they started the amount of firing, the amount of the terrorist activity in Iraq, in Syria, in Lebanon, just to give it the sectarian line, because rule and divide was the main motive of the French and the British on the Arab world, and they wanted to give it that line so Iran can be dragged into the Shia-Sunni track, and then the fighting or countering Hezbollah in Lebanon was by creating Jundul Islam, who were the terrorist group who have started the sabotaging and attacking the Hezbollah and the army of Lebanon, where the army took on them, and there where in Homs, Hezbollah realized that these people who are entering into Syria, they wanted to drag him into that, and they closed their supply line, because Hezbollah, as everybody knows, it was supplied by the Syria through Iran, from Iran through Syria, and then also for Hamas. Syria had tried to make an equilibrium between Hamas from one side, supporting the resistance forces, and also the Lebanese resistance forces, and that particular. So when the president of Syria came, he came at the time when Colin Powell coming to him with a dictation in his hand. He told him, this is what we want. Cut your relation with Iran. No relation with Hezbollah. No relation with Hamas. Open your economy. Go for the peace with Israel for peace. No Golan. Don't ask for the Golan, and allow the Muslim Brotherhood to be in the party and open your economy for the American company. That was the aim. That the president told him, no, we know. They said, Iraq finished, you are next. So we were prepared ourselves to stand in our sovereign, independent decision on this. Now, this has created the resistance bloc from Iran to Iraq to Syria to all this area. So we tried to resist, because American, even like Wensley, himself, the American chief of the army staff, he said it. We are coming to Syria, we wanted to occupy 7 Arab countries, and he named it. If you type on the website or just YouTube, you will find him speaking openly in 2007, and he included Syria and Iran and Lebanon as part of the 7-country United States will target. So we knew what was going on at the planning. So if we want only to talk of democracy, it was just a cover-up to tell to the world that this is what the American wanted from us. Now, if we speak also of Yenon Plan, Yenon Plan is very important for all of us to go back to it. It is 1982, written by an Israeli who said himself on that plan that this is the aim. This is Arab country is built of boxes created by Israel, and UK, and they can break it because of their ethnicity, religious group. They are able to break it up. So the breaking of Syria, breaking of Egypt, the breaking of Iraq was the prime priority of the Israeli government since the 1982, and they have said it. We are not saying from our side, this is what they're writing. So if we look at the legacy of the American president in our region, it was only meant for the Israeli-centric. There is even Obama said it in the open. He said Israeli security and then the oil. So Israeli security, the whole in West Asia, American policy in West Asia has been only Israeli-centric. So even if you look at Iran, you will see the American does not. They have many commonality with the Iranian, but they don't want, because Israel said no. Israel told the American, Shah of Iran was a good person, so you receive him at the White House. He was received, Shah of Iran. It is written in the American book. It was in the guide of the Israeli. The IPAC telling the American, do not meet any of the Iranians. So the Iranian cut the relation because their Muslim revolution won, and since then we didn't have any good relation. Therefore, it is an Israeli-centric, we all know. So to remain Israeli hegemony in the region, dominant in the region, creating chaos in the region, it served the purpose of who are the beneficiaries of a breaking up of Syria or breaking up of. This is a picture, I took it from an American website, making about the coalitions. The American coming for democracy, holding the hands of the Qatari and Saudi. Those who doesn't have even a constitution of their own, those who doesn't even have any rule that they even don't allow a girl to drive a car, they are the one who's promoting democracy in the Arab world. For God's sake, this is something which we need to understand. If I am joining hand with Al-Qaeda, joining hand with Saudis, who have the 11th September, I'm sure if there is an attack on Syria tomorrow, God forbid it will be on the 11th of September, saying that Syria was behind the 11th of September. Why not? It can serve their purpose because they create for you the war according to the legacy they want. They created for you biology, nuclear, chemicals. Look at the history of chronology, who used chemical weapon throughout history. You will come to know who was the one behind it. Why to accuse country when they are not even used it? When I am inviting you to say that this chemical has been used, and you said you limited the UN mission to Syria, only to say chemical was used or no. And they said, yes, chemical used. They said, yes, we know the culprit. Excuse me, then if you know the culprit, why aren't you sharing with us? Why didn't the investigation take place? It is a pretext. They wanted to reoccupy us. We understand again, we will do it. See, this is the American legacy. This is the picture we're showing you where the worst policy is, according to Sammy Clark, is the biggest crime in history is since the Second World War is the American foreign policy. And you can see from the map all over the world, from Afghanistan to Yugoslavia to Iraq to everywhere where the American intervened, they have created a problem, and they don't go for a solution, by the way. The American policy is to create a problem and manage the problem. Management of the crisis, which is serving their purpose, because management of the crisis can give you more option. You see who is benefiting. Arm industry, they are selling enough arm, they are selling, their industry is more booming, employment is available, destroying the infrastructure of the countries, rebuilding, getting the contract, labor from India and China and the Arab world can do the labor job, and they will get the big cake. So it's understood. We are mature enough to understand the game plan of what these countries are. Now, these are the actors in Syrian affairs. This is, you can see the Syria map here. By the way, Iskandarun was given the, if you see on the left map of the Syria, the Iskandarun province, which is called the Hatay province, was given during the mandate of the French. I mean, against any illegal law that you are an occupying forces and you give a land of a country, and your occupation you grant it to another country. So Iskandarun was given to Turkey. Turkey is more ambitious to have more of Syria. They wanted to attack part of Aleppo and all this area because it has the Church Orthodox places, and they have interest in increasing and destroying the ambition of the Kurdish minority in Syria. Because if you notice from the beginning, now the Kurdish influx out of Syria happened because of the support of Al-Nusra. Al-Nusra, the fanatics who started attacking and destroying all this infrastructure of the Kurdish minority in Syria, and you could see the exodus have gone to Iraq. More than 50,000 people in 1 week have run away because they knew that Al-Nusra is supported by Turkey, and Turkey said it said that they don't want any ambition for the Kurdish in Syrian territory because they are worried about their 30% of the Kurdish minority. So we have the Arab who are just coming like the dark horses to us, the European. I have seen the people getting killed in a very savage manner, under the name of religion, which has nothing to do. So Syria now collecting more than 40,000, 40 nationalities, more than 100,000 mercenaries, including 15,000 from Europe. According to their own estimate, is only 10,500 from Europe with the blue eyes, according to the Guardian and the Times. I'm saying our own figure. They do not tell you how many people are getting killed, because they're paying you $2,000 per month when the salary in Syria is $150 per month. So they pay everybody, every recruit is $2,000. So it's a very big business. $10 billion have been spent by Saudi and the Qatari. And the Qatari and the Saudi promised the American also to pay every bill. So the American has to attack Syria, give them back the empty cartridge, then they can get the bill paid. So this is the aim plan. And somebody who can have the army, he wanted to test the new weapon in Syria, and also they have somebody to pay the bill. So this is the best military doctrine in history, the 21st century, where you don't have to lose a soldier, you don't have to put the boat on the ground, you have an interfighting among all the groups, you have the money, somebody paying you the money, so why do you have to worry? Let the rest of the world suffer. Who cares about it? So we will pay in our own blood. Syrians are paying. We lost more than 120,000 people. I can tell you, including two of my cousins died last week, and I am from a province of Hama, and the rocket launched in their house, he died. So it is everybody in Syria is suffering. So American found in the Muslim Brotherhood that they sow the seeds of this Islamization, because first they supported the Egyptian army and they supported them to suppress the Muslim Brotherhood, and then they realized after 2003, why should we repeat the mistake of Afghanistan and Iraq, and we should go towards with our own soldiers and get the fire back at home by losing our soldiers. No, it's better let them kill each other. So they promoted the Muslim Brotherhood, and this is what happened. What you promote, you will what you sow, you will harvest. So this is what they are removing the president here, and they're supporting democracy in the Arab world. Still, they will tell you that we are for democracy in the Arab world. I don't know what kind of democracy. What are you trying to sell us here? I mean, is destroying the country is a democracy? And if it is a destruction, okay, my country is not very democratic, but does it give you any legitimate right to go and destroy the infrastructure, the whole country under destruction? Nothing is left in the country. What is your vision for an alternative? These are the government buildings. These are for the people. If you are destroying everything, what does it mean? That means you don't want the country to remain united. You are playing in the hand of your enemies who are wanted to see your country being divided and into sectarian life. So this is the map which is given by the Israelis about their Greater Israel. The Greater Israel, it is already by the Eretz Israel movement, which was started in 1967 in July, 1 month after this war, the 6 days war. And this is how the map, they look at it. And they told every time the Israelis that this is the from Euphrates to Nile, and they are working on it. We Arabs, we are responsible for the misery where we are. We are not blaming the others, by the way. We have enough people who can blame the damage, who blame the destruction in our own country. So nothing to be proud of it that we are only blaming the outsider. No, the outsider took full advantage of our own mistake, and we are paying it for the rest of our life. I will take only 2 minutes more, because I think I have already crossed 20 minutes. So this is the movement of the Greater Israel. Most of them are in the Likud party. Now, a chronology of the chemical weapon use, all of you knows about it, who have used it. And if America wanted democracy, why this America wanted, what is the scenario? Why now Syria? Why they wanted to intervene? In Homs, the Syrian government could take control of it with the help of Hezbollah. The Syrian army put a plan to attack on the surrounding Damascus to control. And the third move was for the army to go to Aleppo and secure the area from the rebels' hand and make sure that there is no territory in their hand. So Geneva 1 was created to go to the talk about peaceful solution. Everybody accepted, Syrian government accepted. Even they told them, but they realized that the rebels they have created have nothing in their hand to go to Geneva 1. There is no territory or a humanitarian corridor that they created in Benghazi, so it was difficult for them to do it. So therefore, they failed, and they now, with the government offensive and taking conventionally what they have been fighting for in Syria, they created the non-conventional method by which the government, even if you have the chemical weapon, I mean, I don't want to go into controversy of whether I have or I don't have. The main aim is they know that we have. And if it is there, it is not a deterrent, it's a deterrence. Because our neighbor have 100 nuclear arsenals, and is a poor country deterrence to save its own interests. So therefore, Everybody tried to find, we wanted a weapon of mass destruction free from the area. They refused it, and it was the United States who refused, according to, I know it, that refused the Syrian proposal to the United Nations for a free Mediterranean. So this is what happened. They will steal our heritage, they will bring the fundamentalists, they will destroy the Syria, they will bring for us all the killing. So this is the aim, is to destroy Syria. What is the objective of attacking Syria? The main objective is to destroy the infrastructure of the Syrian army, the strength where it is point, and then allowing the mercenaries to move from Turkey in the north and move from south from Jordan, and then they occupy, so they occupy land where the Syrian army is protecting, and then I can put it, this is the status quo now, we can go for Geneva too, this is Syria divided into three parts. This is the main aim, this is the scenario, this is what they want. They said we don't want the president to go, that is why everybody is worried. What is the actual aim is to divide Syria literally on paper before they take on it. So this is what they use for us terrorism, and they show us terrorism. Here, this is a very interesting point from American side. You know, now Chomsky was saying that bombing Syria would be a war crime, and he's right, because this is the American policy. They have gone to Afghanistan, they came back to Syria. It is in the same fashion. They wanted to do in the same manner. They create a problem for us. So I will leave it here to leave the Excellency to talk to you about the media war. I don't want to show you much, but I just wanted to finish. What is the end game? In fact, we do not have the end game here. I wanted to ask every one of us, what is the end game? Is Syria the end game, really? Let us think about it. And I just want to finish, as a Syrian, this is somebody put Facebook picture of Obama taking after he bombed Syria. He wanted also to be the social networking on this. But I wanted to see, this is the inter-fighting among the Arabs, that you are the reason, I am the reason, both of them are sinking in the same boat. So this is the actual picture of the Arab boat. Then I skipped this page, which is very interesting, all of you should read it, about the actual history, supporting Al-Qaeda in Syria, fighting them in Mali, supporting Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, fighting them in Egypt, supporting them in Syria. So it's more of a confusion. Well, nobody can understand this, but I don't want to confuse you more than you are confused with my presentation. This is the democracy. This is I'm asking. What is the end game? You let us all think, and I just say we do not let the Syrian people down. Hands off, no war. Let us find a political solution. Thank you very much.